What's up, Hyperdrivers? I hope everybody in the galaxy is having a wonderful day today. The other day, I was invited by Ubisoft to get to preview Star Wars Outlaws. So I want to give them a big thanks for giving me this gift and giving me this opportunity. This is the first time that I've ever been invited to anything like this. The first time I get to preview a video game before it comes out. And I got to play the game for a total of 4 hours. I got to experience 2 different planets, and I got to do some space combat and some space exploration. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my firsthand honest opinions about what I got to see. Now, they did tell me that the game is still a work in progress, so I don't know exactly how much of the game is going to be updated before it's released on August 30th, but in this video I'm going to be talking to you about what my thoughts are on the graphics, what the gameplay was like, and what the acting and the characters felt like as I played through it. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so let's kick it off with the graphics. Now, when I first started the game, K-Vest wakes up from a crash landing. My first thoughts about what I was seeing is that it looks good, but not quite like the graphics that we saw from a year ago. What we saw a year ago when Kay walked into the bar on Tashara looked a lot more like a high-level cinematic from the Old Republic. It looked polished and refined. It had high contrast lens flares. It just looked like a next-gen game. And that looked like the conclusion of just some random mission. So it gave me the impression that all the quests would receive this level of graphical treatment. The intro here looked more like a minor cinematic, like something that was not climactic enough to deliver that epic quality. The same could be said with nearly every interaction that I had with mission givers like Danka, who was one of the characters in the cinematic that I was referring to from a year ago. The graphics here just looked flat and just like normal gameplay. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad by any means, but it's just not the impression I received from what we saw in the bar from a year ago. Now, once you get on the speeder bike and start exploring, the environment looks really, really beautiful. Tashara kind of reminds me of an African safari. I think it was stunning to see. It's nothing that we haven't seen in any other game, but I like that the world feels fleshed out and very expansive. When I was speeding to the first major city on the planet, Mirogana, the animations felt fun. The bike kicks back dirt, mud, water, and whatever it's running over. I jumped the bike off what looked like a ramp of dirt, and there was all kinds of wildlife, and I'm pretty sure I knocked over a few signs along the way. There were some strange moments though through the playthrough, like for example when Kay hit a rock, she should have been flung forward but instead was stopped by some invisible wall. Another thing I noticed was the city's consistent side sweeping draft that kicks up dirt, adding to the atmosphere, which looks cool, but it seems to be resonating from the city and pushing out into the open area, which feels kind of backwards to me. Plus, the same generic wind effect appears in every level, which is a little bit repetitive. But honestly, I didn't even notice that when I was playing the game. I only saw that when I reviewed my playthrough. Now, one thing that I absolutely love are the city environments. They look old and grimy, just like they should in Star Wars. The world feels fully fleshed out with something interesting in every direction. You see aliens playing sabacc, patrons at the bar, and roaming droids. There is something to interact with and look at in almost every corner. You can easily get lost exploring just like I did. In these city environments is where I feel the game truly shines, even more so than the outer expanses. The other city I got to explore was Kijimi. Now, this is the one from The Last Jedi. This one has more of a Japanese influence. It's cold and covered in snow. Again, just like before, the city feels different, but it has that same dirty underworld vibe, making you feel in universe. Now, when you finally get your ship prepared and take off into space, there is a brief cutscene and the ship takes off, guiding you off planet. You can maneuver the ship left or right, but you don't have full control until you actually are in space. This is the closest that we get to seamless transition into space, as flying within the planet's atmosphere is impossible. Re-entering the planet feels even less seamless. You have to trigger a confirmation, making the process of landing feel more disjointed compared to taking off. Now, one thing that I do love is that they got the ship fully fleshed out. You can walk around in it. There's sleeping quarters, there's the living space, the cockpit area. It gives me the vibes of the Millennium Falcon. The space aspect of this game is freaking epic. The 2 space environments that I got to explore were Tashara's and Kashimi's orbit systems. Now, both felt unique, both had things to explore and fly through. There's enemies to fight. Tashara has this orbiting space junk debris that you can fly through and maneuver, and Kijimi has this gas cloud with ice formations that you can fly and explore in. The graphics overall are pretty good, but they're not quite next-gen level, which is a bit disappointing. I could have overlooked this if we hadn't seen that amazing gameplay video from a year ago. As it stands, the graphics are very similar to something that I would expect from Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto. Now, don't get me wrong, I like those games a lot. However, I felt that the graphics that we saw from a year ago looked better because we had a predefined character in K-Vest. This meant that the graphics didn't have to accommodate completely for customized characters. Now the graphics resemble those games where we can customize our characters. All right, so now we're getting into story and character acting. Now, since I only played 2 missions, I don't really know what the story fully is about yet, so I won't really speak on that. The acting from the characters was not bad. Kay feels a lot like a young Han Solo type. In a few missions that I played with her, she gets herself into situations that is a bit over her head, and she seems to have to resort to lying. And she lies badly. Much like Han did in the movies, it's obvious that she's lying.
My identification?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You're Torrin Valerio Nupp?
That's me.
All right.
Which is cute at first, but I hope that she develops some sort of confidence as the story progresses. ND5 is kind of like a K2SO kind of character. He pretty much tells you how it is, and it makes for some great comedic one-liners.
The Ashiga basically run Kijimi. Got any tips for meeting the queen?
Be polite.
Danka is very much like Sid from The Bad Batch. She's not to be trusted, she's a gangster, she just has that same vibe about her. Waka is the other character that I'm introduced to pretty early on in the game. He's a Rhodium mechanic who works on the ship. He's also a co-pilot, but he's nothing like Chewbacca. And then of course there's Nyx, and this is like Kay's pet. She uses it to create distractions, steal, and aid in completing puzzles. Now the only thing as far as acting that took me out of the immersive feel that I was in was that the aliens all speak basic. Even when they're speaking to each other and Kay's just listening in, they're speaking basic. That just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. I would have liked to have heard other alien languages as it traversed through the environments.
I might. A couple of credits would jog my memory.
Now let's get into gameplay. Barreling through Toshara on my speeder bike was loads of fun. I could see myself exploring around trying to find whatever secrets are on the planet. And space combat is a huge step up from Star Wars Galaxies. Being able to control the ship in space, flying into larger objects, larger ships and debris, and exploring what's in orbit feels like there's a lot in the environment to do. I do worry about redundancy in the missions though. Don't get me wrong, they're fun, but there are mainly only 2 types of missions. The first type involves sneaking around to gather intelligence without any option for firefights. You have to knock enemies out, and if you get caught, you're just taken outside the mission area to start it all over, which feels like an odd penalty. The second type allows you to choose between being sneaky or going guns blazing. Since the latter gives you the flexibility to choose, this first type seems unnecessary. It feels limiting in what would be an open world experience. Also, both of the missions that I did had basically the same style. The beginning was the sneaking around only part, and the second half was guns live. So after a while of that, I could see it getting a little bit old. I hope there's a little more variety in the mission styles. Now, playing as Kay, you do feel like a normal human, which you should because she's not a Jedi, but it's easy to get overwhelmed by waves of attackers. Plus, her options for attack are a blaster, hand-to-hand combat, grenades, or picking up enemy weapons which quickly run out of ammo. She also has special cooldowns like a stun option and a mode where you mark 3 targets and you can kill them pretty quickly. The mark option makes you look badass, but in a real firefight, it doesn't come up enough to use it. Kay's companion Nyx is also useful in creating distractions to help you traverse through puzzles or to steal items from unsuspecting targets. He can also be used to attack targets, giving you time to knock them out without setting off any alarms. Outside of combat, Kay has a slicing ability which works by timing trigger pulls to a blinking light. This is similar to Guitar Hero when you have to hit the key at the exact time. Now when you get this on the first try, it's fine, but when you're under pressure, it can easily get annoying trying to time the clicks. It also doesn't feel like you're breaking into something with the system. There's also a computer slice mechanic where you have to select icons in the correct sequence. This is very similar to the hacking option in Fallout 4, but basically I just selected icons randomly until I got one that works. Just like in Fallout 4, it doesn't really feel like you're hacking into anything. There are also hidden missions and clues to side games by listening into people chatting at the bars and in side alleys. This can help you to win races and find hidden stashes in space or on land. Each cartel or syndicate has gear, weapon mods, and ship mods that can be useful to Kay, but you need to get your rep up with them in order to be able to gain access. And this could be a little bit of a pickle because often the missions you are given pit you against a syndicate that you may have been working for to get your rep up. And on top of all of that, there are even more side quests to get special items beyond what the cartels have to offer. Now, outside of the syndicates, you have the Empire to contest with as well. Now, they're more like the police in Grand Theft Auto. When you get your wanted rating up, they start to come after you. Just like in Assassin's Creed, though, you can remove your wanted rating by paying off a corrupt Imperial officer.
What's that?
Next time you're in trouble with the Empire, come see me and I'll clear you from the wanted list. For a price.
Wow, crooks in uniform. The galaxy really is the same everywhere.
So like I said, there seems to be like there's plenty to do. Overall, I had a lot of fun playing the game. While the graphics may not have that next-gen level feel, they didn't detract me from the gameplay. In fact, I hardly noticed any graphical shortcomings while I was playing. My main concern is the potential redundancy in gameplay style and how replayable the game will be after my first playthrough, as it seems that there's not much beyond what I initially experienced. The big highlight for me was traversing through space, engaging in space combat, and exploring new areas. The game delivers a similar feeling to what I experienced from Star Wars Galaxies. I felt immersed in the environment and excited to discover what else is out there. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below, and until next time, may the Force be with you.